Yesterday, Democrats interrupted Americans' favorite game shows and sitcoms in prime time on all of the big television networks again to air what was supposed to be the season finale of the January 6th hearings, which is sort of like an ongoing Festivus where they endlessly air their grievances about Donald Trump. After last time's emergency hearing featuring a surprise witness, some moron who was arrested at the Capitol that day who testified that Donald Trump made him do it, fell flat. This time they rolled out every guy's weakness. An attractive blonde woman, a former White House Trump staffer who complained about the former president's tweets.
I thought that the tweet about the vice president was the last thing that was needed in that moment. And I remember thinking that this was going to be bad for him to tweet this because it was essentially him giving the green light to these people.
Quite an improvement aesthetically over the last episode, which, aside from the moron who sounded like he had a dip of chewing tobacco in his mouth during his testimony, had a former Oath Keeper testify about how terrible the organization is. So he was on MSNBC last night to give his 2 cents after the hearing.
Jason, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I really, really appreciate it. And for you at home, his new book, The Perils of Extremism, How I Left the Oath Keepers and Why We Should Be Concerned About a Future Civil War. Might not be a fun read, but it is an important one.
Oh, he's got a new book. What a surprise. And I'm sure that he got a really nice signing bonus, too. This hearing was extremely boring and uneventful, even compared to the other ones. And for a season finale, it was a complete dud. At least in the previous ones, they featured an Alex Jones video as part of the evidence that they showed, and then that crazy woman, Cassidy Hutchinson, the former staffer who said that President Trump grabbed the steering wheel of the presidential motorcade and attacked the driver. But in this one, maybe they were just trying to bore Americans to death. Since nobody's watching these hearings, YouTuber Philip DeFranco took it upon himself to inform his audience about how important they are by landing a powerful interview with Adam Schiff. Yeah, if you didn't know what a liberal shill Philip DeFranco is, now you know. But what wasn't mentioned at any of the hearings, and never will be, is oddly something that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez brought up in one of her live streams recently.
Really just can't help but think about all of that footage and evidence that we saw the day of all these Capitol police officers helping and being sympathetic to the insurrectionists on January 6th. And everyone just decided it was too politically difficult to deal with. So they all just brushed it under the rug. And to this day, there has never been an investigation into that.
This poor woman is just too dumb for her own good, and I doubt that she'll ever bring this up again, because on one hand, she is right that there were a handful of police officers who let some of the angry protesters into the Capitol that day. But not for the reason that she thinks. They weren't Trump supporters who tried to aid in the insurrection. There were certain people, powers that be, that wanted chaos to ensue and made sure that it did. And that's why those officers aren't being investigated, and that angle of what happened on January 6th never will. By the way, if you haven't heard, the New York Times recently did an entire story on Ray Epps. He's the guy who was seen on camera urging people to go into the Capitol the night before and shocked the protesters, so they started calling him a Fed. You know, the same guy who was seen here seemingly giving the order to another protester to immediately breach the barrier, which he then did. Did the New York Times finally blow the lid off of what really happened on January 6th? Of course not. How Ray Epps became the victim of a January 6th conspiracy theory. The article literally says that he got swept up in a baseless conspiracy theory, and it's ruined his life, and he had nothing to do with the events that happened that day at all. When we take back the House and the Senate after the midterms in November, as tired as I am of hearing about January 6th, maybe it's time that Republicans have their own hearing into what happened. Maybe we should interrupt the primetime programming on all the big networks to show America the videos of Ray Epps and ask Nancy Pelosi why she refused Trump's request to have the National Guard protect the Capitol that day. And then maybe play some compilations of those Democrats all worried about the electronic voting machines being hacked. That was, of course, before the 2020 election, something that now you're not allowed to talk about anymore on any of the big tech platforms. Which is why you should get my books in paperback from Amazon.com, like The True Story of Fake News, How Mainstream Media Manipulates Millions, The Liberal Media Industrial Complex, or Hollywood Propaganda, How TV, Movies, and Music Shape Our Culture. Or support my work and get a great t-shirt by going to my online store at markdice.com and get my new Climate Change shirt, which features how the climate changes each season, or get yourself an Ultra MAGA shirt, a classic Liberalism Find a Cure shirt, or any of my awesome designs, all available in a t-shirt, long sleeve, and a hoodie, and a whole bunch of different colors as well. So head on over to markdice.com or click the link in the description below and check them out.